What is up, everybody? I'm your makeshift host today, Yaya Yasolina, and this is the DNVR Rapids podcast brought to you by Ivaca TV. If you weren't at the game today and you needed to watch today's game, Ivaca is the perfect way to do it. You can watch the Rapids, Avalanche, Nuggets, and even the Rockies anywhere from home. And you also get a lot of cool channels. I have Ivaca and I love it to death. You also get the NFL Network, by the way, and when the Broncos start playing, you'll get all those national channels, and you'll be able to watch that. Now, how do you sign up for Ivaca? If you go to ivaca.tv/DNVR, use promo code DNVR, and you will get $10 off your first 3 months. That's only $15 per month for the first 3 months plus receiver. No contracts and no hidden fees. It's the perfect way to watch every Colorado sport, at least for the end of the MLS season, because next year they're going to Apple TV, unfortunately. But Ivaca's still great for every other sport. I'm Yaya, and I'm joined by Mr. Joseph. How you doing today, man?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I am actually extremely excited about this game.
Really?
And yeah, I am, and we'll get into it. But we are also joined by head of All City. What are you? Graphic design. Head of All City Graphic Design.
I'm not the head
Duane
of anything,
Brown.
man.
You're the head of my heart. That's what we'll call you. The head of
that's
my
all
heart.
That's all I've ever wanted to be.
How you doing today, Duane?
Oh man, I'm doing good. I just got back from the match, so welcome to my makeshift studio outside here in Aurora, Colorado, so I don't wake up my child. Ready to talk about this game. I think there's going to be some opposing views because Yaya and I were texting throughout the match, and let me tell you, the Yaya Salute is on. It's overflowing right now, so I'm excited to hear what Yaya has got to drop on us outside of the conversations we had during the game.
When you hear all the caveats that he's going to apply to his Yaselina, it'll make a little bit more sense. We were chatting a bit in the pre-show portion of this, and I guess we can get right into that, right? Yeah. Like, let's hear why you thought today's 1-1 draw against Orlando City was encouraging.
So before we get all going, let's recap the game a little bit. Rapids come in, and the defense is shaky, and you're starting to think, what's going on? They're coming back to their form. I thought they were going to have a great game. But, like, for the first, 20 minutes, they looked very shaky. Lawless, nobody could really clear the ball. Balls were getting through. And then here comes the goal from Facundo. I personally didn't think it was that bad of a goal. But I know Joseph thought it was kind of a bad goal.
Listen, I don't think the Rapids have conceded a lot of soft goals this year. That was not even close to the softest one they've conceded. Like credit to Facundo. It was an incredible shot. But I think the main issue I saw with that is that, it's a set piece, a long throw, right? Ball comes in, 3 Rapids players make the jump to the first ball, which leaves Pato open to get the ball after it deflects off of maybe 2 other players. And Pato can set Facundo up easily. And Estevez is just way too late, in my opinion, to react to Torres getting the ball there. And this is something Frazier said in his halftime interview without explicitly really calling out Lucas, but he basically said that the marking on that goal was just not good enough from the team. And I'd be inclined to agree with him there. Like, it's not the soft goals they conceded against Salt Lake, I think, but it's still not great. And it's the 3rd consecutive home match in which they've dropped points, which also isn't great. And it's the 6th consecutive match overall that they failed to win, which also isn't great. So I'm happy that Gyasi Zardes scored, especially because I decided to wear the Zardes jersey tonight. But I'm not.
I do respect that you bought that jersey immediately when he came to Denver. So
I did, and you know what? I stopped wearing it after the Nashville game, but then I realized this morning that the Rapids had not won a game since I wore it to the Salt Lake game. Sorry, to the not the Salt Lake, the Seattle game. And I decided that maybe it would bring some luck back tonight. And hey, Zardes at least got a goal, so I'm very happy to see that.
How about you, Duane? What did you think about the first goal that the Rapids let in? Well, the only goal the Rapids let in, at least.
Well, I sit down there, so my first half view is always of the defense. My second half view is always of the offense. I'm always frustrated by our defense. I'm tired of making excuses for the Rapids not winning, which I told Yaya earlier. But here I am making an excuse. We were a man down because of the injury. So if I have to make an excuse one time, I'll go with that. We were playing a guy down, and it fell apart from there. But this defense just lacks concentration. Danny Wilson is a guy who, and I don't put this one on Danny Wilson at all, actually, but it's just I'm watching, like, the concentration is just so bad, and it's just I don't know what to do with that. Like, these are professional ball players, these are professional soccer players, MLS, and I feel like it should be better than that. And you look at the throw in from Danny Wilson, like, we were down, like, it's not like we were winning and trying to run out the clock. By the time it took him to walk off to get the ball, the entire state of Florida could have got in RVs and drove to Colorado and set up to be ready for that throw in. Like, I was just like, what are you doing? Like, and they were so ready for it, just everything we did because of the first half. I don't know how to explain it. It just, we were not ready, and I was the one who called on last show, like, we were going to come out guns blazing and, like, really run it down the field, and just was the opposite of what happened in the first half. And I wish that we could have a first half that was as strong as every panicked last 10 minutes of every game. I feel like we come on strong at the end of every game, and I wish that we could take that and put it up front. And I think we'd have a strong ball club, at that time. But anyway,
I do think the second half was really good, but you're right on the money, like, with that first half, because I mean, even though they did win the XG battle in the first half, but, like, Orlando looked clearly like the better team. Like, they possessed the ball with intent and purpose. They looked like they had an organized game plan. They knew exactly what to do with the ball, and I felt like the Rapids just lacked a sort of intensity. They didn't look up for the occasion in the opening 45 minutes, and, like, while that did change as the match went on, like, that lack of intensity was the reason why they dug themselves into an early hole, and then had to dig themselves into, I guess, out of it into a draw.
And kind of going back to the first goal, leading up to that, Orlando had almost the possession of the whole half. Like, they were just playing keep away from the Rapids and picking and choosing their spots where they wanted to attack. When they did get that goal, I didn't think it was that bad of a goal. I really don't think the Rapids did anything that almost every other team in the world hasn't done before. It was not like an egregious error. It wasn't something that you could clearly tell what went wrong. I've seen that play happen to Barcelona. I've seen that play happen to Man U. I've seen that play happen to thousands of clubs thousands of times. And I think it's just because the Rapids have had such bad, like, mental lapses the last few games, that this one felt like another mental lapse. It felt like another, like, oh, here we go again. They messed up. But I think this was just a really good goal from Facundo. There was, 3 players in front of him that could have blocked it, maybe, like, between him and Yarby, and he just hit a great ball, went off the crossbar and right in.
Yeah, it was a great shot. I'm not downplaying the shot at all.
Yeah.
It's just, it feels like a broken record of every game starts with like bad mental game defense,
Mhm.
And I'm glad we're getting this out in the first half of the show, because the second half of the show is going to be great. Everybody stick around. But yeah, it's frustrating. But there
So
were some great things that happened as well. After the second half adjustments were nice.
and as the game went on too, like we saw the Rapids kind of gain momentum, starting to create more chances, and they kind of took over the game, which led to the big moment of the night that everybody's been wanting for the last 2 months. It's been right since our DP striker came in, and he finally got his first goal in open play. How
And
did you
it
guys
was
feel about that?
well, first of all, called it Barrios to Zardes. But I mean, man, what a goal. Like, just, again, that was second half. So I got to see it right on the goal line where I sit in 123. And man, just an awesome goal. And I think that's what we wanted from Zardes. And, he had a couple of other chances, call it unlucky, call it, hey, you should be better and finish, whatever you want to call it. But there were some other great chances too. And that gives me confidence on Zardes, who I was ready to just like send off, and play the kids for the rest of the season. So they gave me a lot of confidence in him. And that was just an awesome goal to see live and sit right there in front of it.
For me, I think Frazier deserves a heaping pile of credit for that goal, because if you looked at the buildup, and this is really kind of a way I do want to address Sam's comment, right, who says that this team looks like it needs better coaching. I think Frazier's changes were the reason why the Rapids had any chance of taking home 3 points tonight. And if you look at the buildup to Zardes' goal, it's not just the Barrios assist; it's a massive diagonal switch from Rubio to find Barrios in the first place with all that space on the right side before he sent that cross in to Zardes. And that was minutes after, I want to say like 5 minutes after they came on. And, clearly, like, that's something we didn't talk about at the start of the show, that Diego Rubio and Keegan Rosenberry didn't get the start in this one because, it's a congested match week. Frazier rotates a little bit, keeps out two of his higher minutes guys from this season.
Hasn't Keegan played every single minute for the Rapids this year?
He might have. He may have been subbed out early in one game, but I think he may have been subbed out in the Open Cup game, I think. But aside from that, I think he's played almost every single minute until tonight. So Frazier made a judgment call there, which I wasn't entirely sure about, but I mean, I think it was good, and judgmental Jim is right. That
Agreed.
is that when Barrios came on, the Rapids all of a sudden kept peppering, and I mean like peppering Orlando's goal. We had multiple shots from Rubio, multiple shots from Zardes, multiple key passes from Barrios in the minutes that followed their substitutions. And it paid off almost immediately, and it should have paid off with a winner. And that's really been the story of the Colorado Rapids this season, is that they continue to outcreate their opponents on an aggregate level. They continue to create the better chances, which is something that you do have to contribute to Frazier, right? Because it's Frazier's tactics that are putting players in a position to create chances. But then, Zardes finishes tonight, but Rubio has that one header in front of goal that Galese comes up with a huge save. Zardes has another header that was saved by Galese. And I think Galese made one other save towards the very end of the game that should have been in the back of the net. And like sometimes goalkeepers just stand on their head, but it's been the same story for the Rapids all year. And I said this on the comments of the last post-game show. or maybe our last preview show, where the Rapids have had 8 games this season, now 9, where they have expected goals their opponent, but without picking up the win. And they've only picked up 4 points from those 8 games. Like if they had gotten 2 more wins from those 8, then we're all of a sudden talking about how the season is still alive. And
I don't think it's just alive. I think they're thriving a little bit.
Yeah.
I think they're in the right direction. Momentum is gaining. They're running towards the finish line, and I think they're right in the talks of being looking for that home game in the playoffs. Maybe not getting it, but looking for that home game.
Looking for a home game in the playoffs?
They had won the 2 of the last games, right? That's what you said.
I mean, yeah, maybe if they get 6 other points in addition to those games, I mean, they're still fighting for that 7th spot, I think, even in that scenario. But still, like we would still feel a lot better about this team. And I know the Rapids are still within mathematical like touching distance of 7th place. But just the way the Western Conference is shaping up this year with how many teams are picking up points and at the rate the Rapids are picking up points, they're just not going to – I just don't see how they can sneak into that spot, barring an LA Galaxy-like collapse from one of the playoff teams like last season. Because if you remember, like Vancouver was in the position that the Rapids were in or are in now last season. And they made the playoffs because the LA Galaxy went on an enormous winless streak that saw them fall from 3rd to 8th. Barring something like that happening, like I just don't see the Rapids making that turnaround. And Vancouver was able to make that turnaround because they went on a 10-game unbeaten streak after the halfway point of the season. And I mean, has this team shown anything? Has this team shown that they're capable of going on that type of run this year?
That's the issue.
So. Nope,
they haven't. But this, me and Joseph were talking a little bit while Duane headed back from the game, and Mitch always talks about regression to the mean, right? And I told him I don't agree with that for team performance, but I do agree with that when it comes to luck. Last year, the Rapids were extremely lucky. No major injuries. There was a lot of goals that they got off bounces, a lot of goals that maybe usually don't go in. And I think that's culminating this year to your luck has to, like, come back down and even out. The ball is not bouncing your way sometimes. Like, I thought Alesi had some great saves. But Joseph pointed out to me that Zardes also like hit it right towards him. Very reminiscent of Barrios hitting. Who was that? That Austin goalie. It was Austin, right? Yeah, exactly. Like hitting him right in the body. Very reminiscent of that as well. Which
Rubio as well was punting it right into his chest. So
and it's just like it's so disappointing because I do believe in this team. Like I think this team is very talented. I think this team was ready to win, but I think they got into their heads a lot. But I think they're turning it around. I think they were in a rut that they let themselves lay in. I think they let themselves just kind of feel down on themselves without really even knowing it. They kept thinking, oh, next game we got it, it's fine. Next game we got it, it's fine, without making any real mental changes or even making any tactical changes at times. And I think Frazier and the team has finally realized that if they want to turn this around, they're going to have to fight for it. And that's why I'm so encouraged by this team, because you saw it earlier in the year. Like, if they went down, they were down. They did not fight. You couldn't see them coming back, and you don't think they were going to equalize or even win the game. Now it's been 2 weeks in a row where they were down 2-0 to Real Salt Lake in Rio Tinto, the place of nightmares, and they were able to come back and equalize. Maybe at home it's not the result you want, but there's a really good Orlando team that keeps possession and is ready to play defense. And they were able to break that defensive wall and score that goal to get the point at least. And that's why I'm encouraged by his team, because I think this team is starting to turn it around mentally. I think this team is starting to realize that they have to fight for every point. And I think they're going to maybe not get the playoffs, but they're going to show the fight they need to at least make the 7th place team fear that the Rapids are coming.
Yeah, but
that's how I feel.
Here's the deal: the
I
Rapids
see what you're
not...
saying.
Go ahead.
I'll be super quick.
No, that's fine. No,
like, I see what you're saying, and the fight is encouraging, but you have to be better than that. Like, you can't play every match setting yourself up to have to panic fight for the last 15 minutes of every match. And like, that's what the Rapids do. And it's like, I can't say that I'm super excited that we came down from 2-0 and then we came down 1-0 on soft goals, when if this is a team that's mentally getting it together and learning that they have to fight, then they need to do that right off of opening kickoff. Like, they need to fight from the beginning instead of, trying to claw back into the game. Like, that's what a mature team and a playoff team looks like. And we don't do that. So, that's what I need to see. For me to be confident moving into next year, I need to see a team that plays at a pro level from the beginning. Like, it can't be second half of the second half every match for me. It's got to be something in the first half. And
I agree with that, but there needs to be a start somewhere. Like, when you lose weight, you're not going to see all that fat shred. And okay, like, I agree with you. And there needs to be a start. There needs to be a start somewhere. So seeing them actually try to come back and look at each other, and I look at each other and kind of say, hey, I have your back. Let's get this. That's what makes me encouraged. I don't like the progress they take either. Trust me, I don't like the road they take to there all the time. I wish they came out with that every single time. But even like, you didn't see that at the beginning of the year, which is what is encouraging to me. I'm not trying to be a homer. I'm just trying to point out that there is some positives to this.
So here's,
I love
dude,
this.
I love your positivity, man.
You actually texted me during the game too. You're like, I'm so glad that you're positive.
But listen, not to be bad news bears right now, but the Rapids have still not won a game this year without like holding a shutout. Like, they cannot win a game if they concede a goal. Like, I don't know what it is about this team that can't, like, that always either draws or loses when they concede. But for some reason, like, they just need a shutout to get all 3 points this year. And honestly, like, that would be the real encouraging thing for me to see, is to see either a comeback win when they concede or a win despite conceding a goal. Like, maybe they open the match, the other team fights back, Rapids take score the winner. We saw a lot of late winners last season. Really the last 2 seasons. The last time the Rapids played Orlando, Drew Morse scored a 89th minute winner from a corner kick or something like that, right? When was the last time that you genuinely felt that the Rapids were going to score a game-winning goal from a tied, 1-1 or a tied 2-2? And I just haven't seen it from this team. And until they get a win like that, it's going to be tough to bet on them to do anything, because we're over halfway through the season and we still don't have a victory where they don't also hold a shutout. Like, they basically need Yarbrough to have a game of the year every single week to stand a chance at winning a game. And
real quick,
got some good comments coming in.
The Holly boy. Keita, I don't think will play next year. I think he'll be a Rapids 2 kind of guy. Frazier usually doesn't trust those guys immediately. He kind of gives them a year to 6 months. Kind of like, he gives them some time to adjust. And he's been injured, hasn't even really been with the team. So I don't think he'll be a starter or even be in the rotation next year. As for Galvan, I think he'll be a centerpiece for next year.
Yeah, Galvan.
Absolutely, yeah.
If Galvan was available this season, the Rapids are probably still in the mixer for the playoffs. And I'm not.
Ninth, like 6th place.
The the biggest problem for the Rapids, like early on this year, was when Lewis and Barrios weren't firing in the attack. They had no one to really come in to replace either of them. Like they had no like sort of technical dribbler that could sort of replace them in the attack. And Galvan would have been like the perfect guy to sort of sit in that sort of attacking midfield or even like lined out on the wings. And just have the guy run at players. They're really, he's a player that has like a lot of flair, a lot of technical skill. And I mean, I was expecting big things from him this season before his injury. And I no doubt expect him to come back flying in 2023.
And $5 from Sam. Thank you, Sam. Thank you very much. Just wanted to thank you guys for being my Rapids fan. Thank you, Sam, for riding through this very
we appreciate having you guys on the show, like always. Letting us know your thoughts and asking great questions and sending in comments. Like that's what makes our job a whole lot easier. So thanks, Sam. We appreciate you, man.
Just an update on Jack Price, which good shout, pulling that up straight away.
I thought of you immediately because we were talking about this before the pod started. So I'm like, Joseph.
Yeah, so I actually stayed home to watch this match here because car got that check engine light, baby. You'll love to see it.
Joseph's car just became the Rapids immediately. So.
Yeah, basically, yeah. My car's XG like way outperformed like where it took me today. My expected drive, right? No, so I watched this game from home, and something Fleming said on the broadcast was that it's his understanding that Price will not play this weekend against the LA Galaxy. Mm-hmm. And then Balboa followed that back up by saying he wouldn't expect Price's first start to come on turf against Seattle, which is the game immediately after that. So the expectation right now is like best case scenario maybe comes off the bench against Seattle. And as far as coming back to the lineups, I probably wouldn't expect to start until the New York Red Bulls game in about 2.5 weeks. And the way I understand it is that they're just being very, very precautious because, listen, they invested a lot of money in Jack Price and extending him this year, and they want him to basically be the guy for the next, at least 2 seasons.
And if you don't know, he is the DP. Like he counts.
Yeah. And
not you. I'm talking about the people.
Yeah, no, yeah. So he is technically a DP now. So, but they can buy him down. And anyways, but he wants to be they want him to be a centerpiece, and wanting him to be a centerpiece means not rushing him back on something like a calf injury, which could be aggravated really easily. I feel. So.
Yeah, because he came back after he injured it the first time. And right back out. So it was just one game, and now he's back out. And like I was telling Yaya at the garage sale, was it last week or the week before? He was there to say hi to some of the fans and stuff, and he was walking very gingerly. So I agree, Joseph. I think it's August, probably mid-August before we see Jack.
And I'm okay with that, honestly. Like. I'm okay. Acosta has done, in my opinion, Acosta has played his best when he basically slots and does exactly what Jack Price has been doing without Jack Price on the field. Now, the flip side of that means that when Price comes back, all of a sudden you have a selection crisis where you have, because I don't think Acosta's played well when he's played like that box-to-box role next to Jack, like when he's played further up the pitch. But, I mean, the good news is, like, Acosta's been doing well in that position, in my opinion. Like, his set-piece balls have made us not miss Jack that much. And, yeah, I mean, he wasn't amazing tonight, but I still think his set. I still think his set pieces were. Oh yeah, no, I know. I saw it too.
Yaya and I were debating between. Oh my gosh, my brain just shut off. Holy cow! You can tell it's late, and I've been working too late.
But
Every
listen,
night this
tonight
week.
Acosta 4 key passes, completed 8 long balls, won, the majority of his duels, passed above 80%. I mean, it wasn't a terrible night from him. Like, I still think he did pretty well. And his set piece balls are good. He knows how to deliver from set pieces, and as long as we keep seeing those balls from corner kicks, I'm okay with him in the lineup.
Quick question here from the Holly Boy again, asking would you be opposed to having Vallecilla start next week next to Wilson against LA? I think if you're gonna start Vallecilla, it has to be for Lawless. You need Wilson, even though he has a lot of mental lapses. What Wilson brings, nobody else on the team defensively really brings that either. He's the best passer from the back. That's really what you need. That's really what you use him for. So having a lineup of Vallecilla and Lawless just wouldn't work. They do a lot of the same things, and you need Wilson in there with one of those two guys, unless you go back to the 5-back, which I'm opposed to. I love the 4-back. But if you're gonna start Vallecilla, it has to be for Lawless, and I wouldn't do that because I think Lawless has been had a good couple of games, so I'd want to keep his confidence up and keep him going.
And it's clear to me, I don't think Frazier trusts Vallecilla yet.
And
otherwise, he would have been playing more.
Yeah, and Frazier never trusts those players early on. You saw it with Trusty defensively, at least. You saw it with Trusty. Lucas, I think Lucas has been the only one that has come in and played, but that's because of
even last year. Even last year, Lucas made a lot of substitute appearances when he first came in. Like, he wasn't a locked in starter. I really think Zardes is the only guy who has come in and immediately won a starting spot under Frazier. I can't think of a single other player who
maybe Acosta, but that's because of an injury. Like, that was, and even then Acosta the first month or two were like K is the only other one that I can think of too, maybe.
Yeah, Acosta I think only made 2 starts in the first 3 months of the season. Like, I mean, but yeah, K would be another good shot, I think, too. But Frazier just doesn't seem to trust these young players when they first come in. He seems to want to mold them into exactly what he wants to see first, which is why Vallecilla has been getting a lot of time with Rapids too.
But it seems to work. Like, you saw it with Trusty. Now he's in Arsenal. You even signed with Danny Wilson. Like, when Danny Wilson first came in, he was horrible, man. Once he got under Frazier's hand and started teaching him, he improved quite a bit. So you see it with these players. Like, Frazier's not a person who trusts the young kids or trusts new players. He likes to make sure that they're caught up to what he wants to do, so they don't deter the team. Which could be an issue with Zardes, that he threw him right into the starting lineup and he hasn't produced because he's not getting. It could be something there. Real quick before we get any further, I do want to talk a little bit about Max. I see a lot of comments talking about Max. First of all, I wanted to hear what you guys think, and I'll let you know what I think about Max this game. And for the rest of the year,
I'll keep mine short. I thought Max had a decent game, but that, again, because of where I sit, it's just
I know exactly what you're going to
right in my face. This was the play. I mean, my daughter and I, we were up and cheering, and it was ready. And it was all let's go. And then I texted you about it too, Yahir. I was just like, dude, WTF with that.
Yeah, he sent me text the whole game and just this sucks. I don't like this. What's going on?
So that was the big play. It's hard to – that one play I feel like is going to overshadow his game, and I didn't think his game was that bad, but that one play was bad. So I'll step off on that.
No, I watched that replay about 3 times trying to figure out what the hell happened, and I think I've realized what it is with Max is that when he's in open space with the ball, he's super confident. He dribbles forward. He's good at that within space. But the moment he got under pressure in that situation, he immediately looks down, and looks at his feet and tries to figure out what he's going to do to get by a defender. And those seconds matter so much. Like those seconds are like everything in defense, because you take your eye off the defender like that, immediately they know they can make a move and catch you off guard. And I feel like that's exactly what happened. He tried to dribble through that line. He looked down, took his eye off like the defense basically. And then, botched a play where the Rapids had it was a 3-on-3, I think, with
3-on-3 or 3-on-2, something like that.
They had numbers in advantageous positions, and you could just see that it could have been the goal. But
it really could have.
But yeah, it's the same thing that we saw in Salt Lake. It's like you can see glimpses, you can see some things there, but he's just so raw. He lacks a lot of like hustle on defense, I feel. And his passing really isn't crisp enough in the attack to like make up for those defensive errors. And I'm not really seeing enough from him to justify, a $1 million transfer fee and a 5-year contract. And now listen, it's still early. It's still early in that deal. He can grow. He's a young player. I could see a scenario where he blossoms into that creative number 10 or, sort of a roaming number 8 that the Rapids need. But I can't see it this season. And I said this on Twitter after that play, but it's literally just been close but no cigar from him ever since that Champions League game.
Well,
and look, I'll say that. Go ahead. Yeah.
Go ahead, Duane. You're all good, man.
I felt like that most of last season, and last season was a good one, but I felt like every time we got down into the scoring zone, it didn't matter who had the ball. Like we just forgot what to do with it, and I saw that from almost everybody on the Rapids last year.
Well, that's where we got Post Bassett from.
Yeah, and
Pole Bassett.
So
Pole
Bassett. Yeah, and so like you said, it's early, and it's not unique to him. And I don't know if it's unique to the Rapids or not. I have no idea, but man, I feel like I see that a lot. So, I don't know. I just remember thinking last season, even though we were doing pretty well and climbing up, I felt like every week was, man, I really hope they're practicing on scoring this week so that they just get comfortable and used to it, because it always felt very, very uncomfortable. And I don't feel that as much this season. Like, Rubio will take the shot, and Zardes, love him or hate him so far. Like tonight, he was going for it, and it didn't work out, but the dude had confidence and he wasn't guessing where he was going to put it. He was going after the ball, and I feel the same with Lewis and with Barrios. Like they're all putting balls on. So I feel, which is crazy to say because, we're not in the same position as last year, but I do feel like the offense is looking stronger this season than it was last season, even though we're not showing the results. Not that we were a powerhouse of goals last year either, but I do feel like I'm seeing some better things, and yeah, today, and maybe that was just a young thing, from Max, but I agree 100%. Like it's just everything is exciting, and there's all the confidence, and then you get in front of the net, and it's like, oh, now what, and it just, and then it kind of falls apart. So I do feel like that's temporary, and I do feel like that's gonna go away, and we're gonna see a lot more out of him from a goal standpoint.
It does feel like last year. It's what would the Rapids look like if everything went right and they were number 1 in the West. This year feels like, what are the Rapids if everything goes wrong?
Yeah,
and they're like at the bottom of the West.
Hard agree.
it's kind of like it feels a little bit like a social experiment, honestly, with this team the last 2 years. But I will say this about Max: I thought he had an okay game. I thought he could have been a lot better. How Joseph was saying, he looks down at his feet and he's like, "What's the move I'm gonna make?" And his decision making is not great. But compared to what I saw in Dallas earlier this year, where when I saw him play, I'm like, this guy is not ready for any first team minutes. Get him out of there. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's missing everything by 20 feet. Compared to what I saw tonight and even last game, it's a big contrast, and that's what encourages me. That's about 4 months, 3 months of difference, and he's improved that much where I can see, hey, there's still improvement to be made, but he's come a little bit further. He's been able to like acclimate a little bit better to the team, and he's been able to play that 10 role a little bit better than what they were asking him earlier in the year. So that's the one encouraging part about him. But you're right, his playmaking is not where it has to be, especially for that position, specifically. But this is another thing that I keep saying. This is encouraging because I even like small performances from players like this is showing me that they're improving within little by little. And next year, when everything's back to normal because the social experiment's going to be over, I think they'll be back to a place where they can be like, hey, you know what? We're a comfortable playoff team. We're maybe fighting for a home game. Maybe we're in the 5th seed.
I respect your optimism for next year, and I do agree with you on it generally. But it is hard for me to feel super optimistic right now, given what this team needs to happen, like what needs to happen to not only this team, but to the other teams in the West. And like, they just can't continue to drop home points, and they can't continue to go on the road and pick up L's. Like, that's what I mean. They just need to win. They just need to win games, and they just haven't been doing it.
I think why I'm so encouraged is because you look at the coaching staff and you look at the players they put in place, and you've seen progression. Look what happened last year with Vancouver. Everybody was so excited for Vancouver with Vanny and everything going on out there, and they're like, "This is gonna be awesome. Vancouver's gonna come in this year and be great." I bought into the hype. I was all in on Vancouver this year. It hasn't happened. Yeah. This is the thing. You got to look at the small little microcosms of each game and see where they're improving from their other games instead of looking at that long win streak, looking at that long losing streak. Because the microcosm is showing that, okay, they're improving on the small little things that they were like horrible at, still not there, which gives me hope, and I really do trust Frazier to get this squad across the finish line. Maybe not in a playoff spot this year, but definitely a better seeding than 12th place. I expect them to end up like in 9th or 8th, honestly. That's what I look at. 10th to 8th would be my place for them to land in. But I think next year they're going to come in and be like, okay, social experiment's done. Let's actually play our game and see what we can do.
I think that they can make some additions in this transfer window. And if they just happen to knock it out of the park, like they do come in, and like I think there is a chance. Like us, I mean, it's tiny, but I do think some moves would be needed. Like I just don't see them making the playoffs without any like sort of big splash. And
Lingard, let's go. Lingard to the Rapids, confirmed.
All right, so we don't know if they're going to the playoffs or not. I think Joseph and I are probably on the same side on this. And
I don't think they're in the playoffs
Yahir
either, honestly.
Is ever hopeful. Yahir is hoping that every other team will go on an unimaginable losing streak, and we will win just enough to get in.
I don't think they're in the playoffs, but I think they're going to be in 10th to 8th place. I think next year is the next year that they'll actually be there. Although, hey, I'll take the playoffs this year. I'll be the hopeful. Yeah.
Sure,
give me the playoffs, man. Like all you need to do is get in there, and you'll win. Like there's always a chance. Look at the 2010 squad. There's always a chance.
So who do we think played well tonight? I think there are a few guys that unexpectedly to me, in some of the comments, Allie Boy was saying Keegan which we love Keegan. I think Keegan
We're
always
Keegan
plays
boys.
really well. B-Ray was mentioning that Betashore had a nice game today on D, which I agree with. Who was your unsung or sung hero? Who do you think played really well tonight?
I mean, I think Zardes played really, really well. I mean, like that is my man of the match for this one, and I'm not just saying that because he got the goal. I just think he was everywhere he needed to be. He always seemed to be in the right position. He was pressing well, but I think the two game changers were Rubio and Barrios off the bench. Those subs just cataclysmically shifted the game in Colorado's favor. And you'll notice that Orlando maybe had one decent opportunity, decent shot in front of goal after those two came on. So those three, I give huge props tonight.
Same, no different names for me. I thought those were the three main game changers.
Yeah, and I think those were obviously the ones, undercover. And I told you I hear this as well, because normally he gets pooped on quite a bit. I thought Warner played really well. He came on and started the match, and I was like, oh man, what's it going to look like? I thought he played real aggressive.
He only had four turnovers, which is really rare for him. So I'm like,
rare.
Sorry, I'm not trying to be mean, but
I know,
literally loses the ball all the time.
I know, and tonight I felt like he was aggressive, and I wasn't expecting it from Warner, and I was like, wow, hey, look, Warner's having a nice game today. So I will do that as my undercover. Who would have known? Who would have guessed?
You're getting flamed by B-Ray in the comments.
Hey, look, none of us would have guessed that before the game. B-Ray, but I mean, if you watch the match, I mean, I think he played fairly aggressive and much better than I thought he would have. When I see him, run out there as a starter too, I'm like, oof, like this could get ugly, but he held it tonight. So props.
Brenner was my guy, by the way. So
Yahya loves that Brazilian striker, man.
Dude, he's starting to turn it around. Maybe not score goals, but he's assisting, he's creating. That's my guy. All right, guys, it is getting late. We're 6 minutes away from 11 o'clock. Any final thoughts?
Listen, I'm not expecting playoffs anymore this year. I just want to start seeing more wins. I would love to see them beat LA this weekend. It's the only other team in the Western Conference that has a worse goals minus expected goals than Colorado. So maybe we're going to get that 0-0 game where everybody just misses every chance. But I would really love to see a win. And hey, picking up after that, they got two huge road games against Seattle and New York, who are currently top of the Eastern Conference. I'd love to just see points in those games. I think that would be really positive for this team mentally to pick up any points at all in those two. So let's see. I mean, they're already. If you want to look at it on the bright side, they're 2 games unbeaten right now. So let's carry that. Let's carry that streak a bit farther. I'd like to
3 out of 5. 3 out of 5. They haven't lost.
Yeah, there you go.
How about you, Mr. Duane Brown? Final thoughts?
I said on the last show, this match was for me, and I think a lot of the fans, was going to be the morale, fortifier or the morale breaker. And a tie to Orlando feels like a loss to me. So I'm out on the playoffs for me, and I hope I'm wrong. So I'm more interested in seeing what we can accomplish, and just having to wait until next season. And dude, I hate that. I hate having to say that. But I'm also, a very strong realist, and if that's what we have, then that's what we have, and I can be excited and I can go to Dick's Sporting Goods Park and be excited to watch that, and see what we have with some of the kids. Frizo's on, he's probably going to be a couple of weeks, given what we know about Fraser and the new guys, the young guys having to earn it. But hey, he was there. He's wearing 97, and it was, seeing him warm up, and I'm excited to see what he's going to bring. So I think there's a lot to look forward to in the season, even if it's not a playoff season. So that's kind of from here on out. That's what I'm looking for, is just kind of see what we got, and to be hopefully excited about that moving into next season. And as I've mentioned, I just want to play spoiler. If we're not going to the playoffs, I'm rooting for chaos, and I want the Rapids to be like the harbinger of playoff chaos, because it is so tight in the West. I just want them to wreck it, and that would be so much fun to cheer for. So
could you imagine if the Rapids got a win against Seattle, which contributed to them missing the playoffs this season? It would almost be
wonderful.
worth missing the playoffs if we took 6 points from Seattle this year and kept them from getting in.
Give me all of that. I want it all.
The thing with Seattle, that no matter what, their season this year, it's a success for them. First MLS,
but it would still be really funny, Yaya. It would be
hilarious. I'd love it.
So
Seattle would do the birds to us and be like, "We got a CCL. What do you have?" We got as many MLS Cups and more than you, and we got a CCL. What do you have? So, I'd love it personally, just to be petty. But I know Seattle fans would be like, "What you want?" Me personally, I think the Rapids are the best team in the West. I'm all in. Give me the kids. Give me everything. Give me the gasolina. Pour me on that and just light me on fire, and don't put me out. No dropping, no rolling, no nothing. But you know what they always say. I might not be Mitch, but up the Pids.
Pids.
Have a good one, guys.